The annual ASDA Burson Marsteller Arab Youth Survey is one of the most important pieces of research in the Middle East, providing unique insight into the attitudes and aspirations of the region's biggest demographic. For the 9th edition, we've reached out to Syrian refugees living in Jordan and Lebanon. These supplementary findings provide a rare insight into a generation facing an uncertain future. Our top finding is that the majority of young Syrian refugees living in Jordan and Lebanon say that they are unlikely to return to Syria permanently. Asked, how likely are you to permanently return to Syria in the future, 54% said unlikely, while 42% said likely and 4% said they did not know. Young Syrian refugees say that ending the war and Daesh leaving Syria are most critical for their return to Syria. Asked which of the following is the most important thing that needs to happen to be able to return to Syria, 47% stated the war ending, and 25% said Daesh leaving Syria, trailing far behind where the economic situation improves by 8% and Bashar al-Assad leaves, chosen by 7% of the respondents. Most young refugees do not consider President Assad leaving office as a prerequisite for reaching a peace agreement. Just over a quarter agreed with a statement, there can be no peace agreement as long as Bashar al-Assad stays in office, against 71% who agreed that ending the fighting is more important than Bashar al-Assad leaving office, with 2% saying they did not know. Many of those surveyed do not believe that military action alone will resolve the conflict in Syria. Asked, which of the following do you think is the best way to resolve the ongoing conflict in Syria? 43% said a combination of political and military solutions. 27% said a military solution. 26% cited a political solution, while 4% said they did not know. Refugees view Canada, the U.S., the UAE, and Germany as the top countries to live in. Asked, which country in the world other than Syria would you like to live in? 27% said Canada, and 23% said the United States. The United Arab Emirates and Germany were chosen by 22% each, while France was the choice for 14% and the UK for 13%. Asked what could be done to improve their plight, the majority of refugees, particularly men, said that EU governments could assist them most by permitting more Syrian refugees to enter the EU rather than providing financial help to their host countries, Jordan and Lebanon. In total, 56% of young refugees believe the EU opening borders further would be helpful, compared to 42% who felt the EU should provide more money to Jordan and Lebanon to support them. When split by gender, 2/3 of men at 67% and 46% of women surveyed said permitting more refugees to enter the EU was the best way to help. Just 1/3 of the young men thought more money to host nations would help, compared to 52% of women. Syrian refugees are divided on Iranian and Russian involvement in the war and don't believe Trump's presidency will change the course of the conflict. When asked, do you think Russia helping Bashar al-Assad had a positive or negative impact on the Syrian conflict, the split was almost even. 49% of all respondents said the impact is positive, while 46% said it is negative, and the rest said they did not know. When asked, do you think Iran helping Bashar al-Assad had a positive or negative impact on the Syrian conflict, the split was almost identical, with 49% saying it was positive and 48% stating it was negative, and the rest did not know. The majority of young Syrian refugees surveyed, at 66%, said they do not believe that Donald Trump's presidency will change the course of the conflict, with 1 in 4 at 23% expecting it to get worse. Young refugees agree with their Arab peers, who say Daesh is getting weaker and military action is not the only priority in defeating terror. The survey compared the views of young Syrian refugees with their peers in the wider region, as gauged by the 9th annual ASDA Burson Marsteller Arab Youth Survey 2017. Asked whether Daesh had become stronger or weaker over the past year, 77% of young Syrian refugees believed the terrorist group had become weaker, while 19% believed it was growing stronger. Across the wider region, as per the survey, 61% of Arab youth said Daesh was getting weaker, while nearly a third, at 31%, said it was growing stronger. In the Jordan camp, 84% believed Daesh was getting weaker, against just 15% who felt it was growing stronger. In Lebanon, 71% said the terrorist group had become weaker, and 23% said it was stronger. Overall, Syrian youth, and especially those in the refugee camp in Jordan, are more convinced than their peers across the region that Daesh is getting weaker. Young Syrians broadly agree with their peers that military action alone is not sufficient to defeat Daesh. Informing the public through media campaigns that Daesh's ideology has nothing to do with Islam was identified as the most important tool to defeat the terror group by 18% of young Syrians, compared to 12% of youth in the region. 16% of the young Syrians said military action and educational reform were key, compared to 13% of young Arabs citing the two measures. Creating more well-paying jobs was cited by 12% of young Syrians and Arab youth across the region as an important measure to defeating Daesh.